Hi there, I'm Carl. You may remember me as the guy that built a stupidly complex dwarf shower. I have yet another story of architecture and engineering for you today. This is Kubuk Zuglavinet, Dwarven administrator. He's a pen pusher by trade, but he's about to have a sudden run-in with fate. You may be wondering what's happening here. Well, I welcome you to Foblicad. Many have heard tell of the concept of a dread fort. Today I bring you the lead fort. I bring you a great failed dwarven megaproject. Dwarf Frogger. The concept is simple. Revenge. My shower base was raided and pillaged by goblins. In building a gigantic shower, I forgot an important part of any good fortress. Defences. So, I started a new base in a new world. We had a volcano, and the embark informed us that we would have access to Fluxstone. The plan was to armour up and go and take it to the goblins, to show them that the dwarves can also fight. However, as much as I tried, I could not find the Flux. Without high-end gear, my plans of going out raided were scuppered, so I had to come up with something else. What I found instead, though, was great volumes of galena, the basis of lead and silver. So I asked myself, what can I do with these? What possible defensive properties do these two metals have? Well, in Dwarf Fortress, on their own, very little. Lead can't be used for weapons and silver is bad for it. However, with a little dwarf ingenuity, even harmless metals can be transformed into great weapons of destruction. Have you ever heard of Frogger? You know, that game you played as a kid where you need to get a frog across the river and a road of traffic to get them to the pond? Well, my idea was to build a base entrance around the concept of Frogger, built entirely out of lead and silver, mostly using child labour. That bit wasn't the plan though. That was just what happened. But hey, Frogger is a game for kids, after all. And it would be the biggest, most expensive game of Frogger in history. It would consume tens of thousands of bars of lead and thousands of silver. But it was not worth it at all. You'll see why in a bit. But I had to think. I knew quite easily how to create the traffic on a road. The game has easy access to minecarts, which can be more or less automated to cause constant collision. To create the river, I had to think. First, I thought to use retracting bridges, however, I quickly abandoned that idea for trapdoors. We didn't have access to water, after all. The first difficulty was trying to find a way to ensure the trapdoors would trigger properly. I wanted to provide safe windows of passage through the entrance to ensure it was possible. However, I knew that anything I tried to design which I trigger myself would be imprecise and cumbersome when activated. Thus, I had an idea. Pressure plates in Dwarf Fortress can have multiple settings: creature, water, magma, and minecarts. Well, I'm already using minecarts. So I hooked up hundreds of pressure plates to hundreds of trapdoors. This took, no word of a lie, 4 hours to do. This whole concept actually took around 14 hours to build. It was not fun either, until the very end. Hundreds of left clicks pan across the screen, another left click, repeat. Then my dwarfs scurry off and place the mechanisms in place and return to the plate, hooking it up. Outside of a few design hiccups, like how I initially forgot to remove the floor before placing trapdoors, meaning I had to fully redesign the system from scratch, I did manage to get it running. The lead minecarts running on track made entirely out of silver, powered by runners using silver chains, would run over pressure plates that would open lead hatch trapdoors, dropping anyone trying to come through down a level onto another lead floor. If you dropped through the floor, you would have to start over again from an earlier position. And if you made it through this wall of chaos, you would then be treated to a live traffic accident experience based on accidental testing of my own dwarves. The trapdoor element worked without a hitch. Perfect. And if you got past all of that, then you had to make it through about 20 trained war grizzly bears. So, it all worked. To ensure any invader coming into my base went through this carefully designed path, I also encircled basically the entire map in fortifications, made out of lead, of course, and a tiny bit of rose gold. You have to flaunt it every now and then. Our bar, for example, our tavern, is made entirely out of electrum. I was bored, what can you say? In effect, the only thing getting in had to use wings. Or that would be the case if I did not also build an entirely lead ceiling. I had thought of it all, or so I thought. I forgot one quirk of dwarf behaviour. These industrious lads, full upon ale and made of 99% muscle, cannot stand to see work undone. Placing minecarts is work, and as such, the moment these minecarts started going, my dwarves would come out in droves, attempting to place any stopped minecart back in place. This would inevitably cause a crash, stopping another cart, bringing another dwarf, and so on. In the process, the dwarf would die, which is how we get to Cubuck earlier. In the end, only one active minecart would be running on any track at any time due to the stoppages. It would collide with others in its path, and like that weird executive office table thing where the balls, you know the thing, the balls, they swing. Yeah, like that. The furthest along minecart would go on instead. This was a massive underperformance from my plan, but it still worked more or less. Trapdoors opened and closed, so this wasn't really a problem. So I went and declared war on every goblin society, and a few societies which may have had goblins for good measure. Elves. I wanted to invite them along to the wild ride, after all. So why was this a failed dwarf Megaproject then? It stopped invaders coming in, and while it caused a few casualties, I could wall them off surely. Well, this whole time I've been telling a lie. Every bit of footage featuring the device in action has been sped up. Massively. Let me play this now at its normal, real speed. I had not really built Dwarf Frogger. It was this, for sure, but it was even worse, an even greater defensive measure than any children's game could ever serve to be. It was a great dwarven lag switch. The game ran so slowly, constantly triggering and untriggering all of these pressure plates, that it would take minutes to pass a single day. In building Dwarf Frogger, I did not merely defeat the march of thousands of angry, vengeful goblins. I defeated the inevitable march of time itself, bringing it to a crawl. No goblin would ever successfully slay a dwarf in my base. Not because they couldn't get to any of it, which they wouldn't anyway because they had to get through it all, but because the lag is so insane that the game barely runs. And there you have it, a tale of great ambition, a true dwarf megaproject, ending as most are doomed to end. So, thank you for making it to the end of the video, and let me say it's been a bit of a joy watching the first one take off like it did, even though I did absolutely nothing to make that happen. I just posted the video, intending it to be something seen by maybe 10 people. I really did just make it to post in Discord. But yeah, thank you. It matters a lot to me that it did well. I recently lost my job. I was made redundant. I am very depressed about that fact. I am very, very depressed about that fact. If you like this, please let me know. I might try and keep making more of them, but it might be difficult to keep coming up with ideas. And if you want to support me a bit more directly, I have no fucking money. So there's a Ko-fi down the bottom. E-begging feels wrong. This is e-begging. But yeah, if you fancy supporting me, just chip in a quid or something like that. It's up to you. I don't want to make you do anything. But anyway, thank you. Maybe coming along for the next one I do, if I do one. Anyway, have a nice Christmas anyway. Ta-ra.